What does Frank Lampard now do? Again, he's demonstrated that he can't seem to break down teams that sit deep. How quickly or how urgent is it for Frank Lampard to try to figure out a solution for this, Rob?
I think it's of paramount importance, and he wasn't happy there, was he? He wasn't a happy manager. He didn't think they played well. He's looking at his main guys, as we said, in Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, the guys that they paid big money for, and they didn't help the team. They didn't control it. So it's one that you're looking at and you're thinking, well, let's get up to speed with this. And at the moment, it's not happening for them. They're not breaking teams down, and as he said, they're not controlling the games.
What do you think is lacking in this side then, Marcus, for Chelsea?
I don't know. But if you think back to when me and Robert were playing and we played again, we came against Frank Lampard, Chelsea would have never lost that, right? They would have had the heart on the field. They would have been able to battle that. They would have been able to see that 1-0 lead out away at Wolves. And, and Chelsea let them back in. And, you have to look at your top class players, the ones you're paying your big money to, like Rob said. And if you don't look at those guys first, right, you can't then go back and pick through your team. And you have to then, okay, where do you start? And is it scoring goals? And do you need to score more than one goal away from home? What are your options? And, they should have enough options up front. They should be able to see that game out, you would think. And even though I said it was going to be 2-1 Wolves, it was still Chelsea should have been able to get a result out of that game.
Well, I'm just looking at a couple of tweets here, and a lot of them are mentioning about Timo Werner, which you spoke about before the game. Also on Kai Havertz, this one says, too early to call Werner and Havertz flops, but they need to seriously do better, Rob.
Yeah, and they do. They need to perform better, but there's a bigger picture involved as well that we've got to remember that we're in the middle of a global pandemic. They've moved from their hometown teams in Germany. They'll have been in a comfortable scenario. They'll have been amongst friends, amongst family. And not only have they moved away from them, but they've not been able to see them. No one's been able to travel. They've not had the opportunity to go home. It's been a long time since they've seen anybody that they've probably known. They've spent months and months sat in hotel rooms or in strange cities. So, I think that there is a human element to it as well that the outside world don't see. That they have to understand that maybe these are young lads just playing football for a living. It so happens that they do cost a lot of money and they are exceptionally talented at it. So there's a human element to it. To call them flops, given that they've moved, into new towns, into new countries, and with new expectations and new levels of pressure, then that's a big ask. So, as much as I'm sat here saying it's not been a positive performance from them, there's always the human element as well that people don't see, that you've got to understand as the paying public who are watching these games.
But as much as you try to empathise with these players on the human elements, at the end of the day, football is a results game. And if your players aren't up to the task, aren't kind of living up to that expectation where people would typically want you, because you want to be challenging on all fronts, because you want to be part of that title race, just because you dip a 10, 20%, even a 1% sometimes, can completely knock you out, because that's just how challenging and how intense the Premier League can be. So when it comes to these players, yes, there's a human element to it. Yes, the price tag is a lot of pressure, but it will cost Chelsea possibly the title, Rob.
Yes, and you look at it and that money, as you say, that money that's spent does raise the expectation. Chelsea fans will turn around and say, yeah, we've spent that money, now let's go and provide the title. You look at it and you look at the results based, and last season was the first season where they didn't win a trophy for a long time. And so Frank got given time that other managers haven't been afforded. I was at Chelsea with Maurizio Sarri, and he got the sack after winning the Europa League. And you look in the season before that, and Conte, he won trophies and got the sack as well. So he's been afforded time. There's exceptional circumstances in there with the transfer ban and things like that. Losing Eden Hazard is a big loss. But you're looking at it now. You're looking at the team now and saying, they've got the tools. They've got the guys there. At the minute, one or two aren't performing as they should. There's also one or two injuries, so they can't pull them out. But They are losing points, and it is there for someone to grab by the horns and take this Premier League by storm. No one's doing it just yet.